Hello and welcome to the Bad Dice Podcast. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about the huge release on this weekend from Games Workshop. There's a number of things that I'm going to be chatting about. We've got the General's Handbook first off. That's on pre-order this weekend. My last episode talked all about this book, what's in it, what you can expect to find. Basically from this massive tome of awesome, which is the best way of describing it. It's a cracking book. We're finally going to get our hands on it and you're going to be able to go into your stores and start looking at it. I've seen places like Element Games and some of the stores around the States as well have been announcing they've got copies in the shops, and I imagine the Games Workshop stores are going to have them too. So that's the General's Handbook. You can check that out. It's on pre-release this weekend. We've also got the All Gates Realm Gates War Book 4. Now this is basically the culmination of the Realm Gate Wars, which is the first main saga in the Age of Sigmar, which has basically set the tone. It's got everyone caught up to the stage of what's happening and where we are with these battles, introducing the main good guys and bad guys and the various factions that are going to be prominent in the Age of Sigmar. And this is the last one in the series, so I'm looking forward to having a good read through this and seeing where the fluff goes, because it's an absolute cracking series so far, the Realm Gate series, and this one looks, as you're flicking through, it looks to be no different. We've got all the new Sylvaneth stuff in there, and yeah, it's amazing artwork, everything you expect from the Realm Gate Wars books. But this episode, and it's the one which you're going to be talking about, is the Sylvaneth release, and that's actually on sale this weekend. Saturday the 2nd of July, and it's on pre-order in the shops, on the Games Workshop website, and all the cool artwork and interesting models are starting to hit the internets at the moment. So that's what we're going to have in this episode. It's going to be the Sylvaneth Order Battletome review. So I don't really know where to start with it. It is such a cool book. In my opinion, this Sylvaneth Battletome is better than the General's Handbook. I'm going to throw it out there now and say that it probably does more for the game than the General's Handbook as well. The General's Handbook, I think it added a lot, and it added points values and things like that, but this is what the community was doing anyway. A lot of the things in the General's Handbook, Games Workshops themselves said to us when we went in to do the playtesting, this is obviously what the community wants and we're reacting to it. Now, this Sylvaneth Battletome is totally different to that. It is just packed cover to cover with absolutely awesome models, rules. It's like all the best army books and codexes of old just turned up to number 11. It is a really fantastic book. So I suppose we best start with the main bullet points of what's in the book. So we have loads of new rules. So there's a whole bunch of new Warscrolls. I think there's 12 Warscrolls in total in the book, and 11 of them have new rules. I think I counted it as that. It's pretty close anyway. We've got a huge new range of models as well. So we've got Allegiant, the Everchosen. We've got Draco Hammer, a Branch Witch. That's not a Branch Wraith, that's a Witch. Tree Revenants, Spiked Revenants, and Kurnoth Hunters. And these are all awesome new models. They really fit the Sylvaneth range very well. They suit the Dryads extremely well, and the Tree Lords. And they look like they could have been part of the range from day one. And it's just fantastic. Really good aesthetic, I think. It all fits very well. As you can see, the guy on the front, he's one of the Revenants. And the fluff behind these is really cool. I thought the Flesh Eater Courts was one of the best things they've done recently with the backstory for the existing factions. But these guys are very cool as well. They're kind of known as the Noble Sylvaneth, and it reads a little bit to me like this is what happened to the old elves. They've turned into forest spirits and demons and been sort of taken into the wood, let's say. That's the way I read it. I think the next person over might read it a little different, but it's a very cool story behind those. Now, 14 Warscroll battalions as well, and this includes mixed factions. So some of these Warscroll battalions allows you to take, one of them allows you to take an Order Wizard. Then you've also got Loris Grimm and his Hallowed Knights are in another battalion, and it adds some really interesting stuff where you can take your battalion, you can take your Sylvaneth faction, and you still get bonuses for going out of faction and into an alliance, which I think's very nice, and it's something I don't think we've seen before. Mixed mixed alliance battalions. So hopefully it opens the door for more in the future. So I think I'm going to start with the Warscroll rules, because if you've not seen the models already, you can go to the Games Workshop website. They're all on the front page of the website. New models for Alarielle, Draco, the Branch Witch as well. The Kurnoth Hunters are just fantastic kits. They're like ogre-sized infantry. And then the Revenants too. So the range is fantastic. But I'm going to talk mainly on this episode about the rules for the new Warscrolls. So we're going to start with Alarielle the Everchosen. So she's a huge monster kit on a beetle, absolutely massive. The size of her is bigger than the Gash. I think she's obviously not as big as Archaon, but she's getting that way. Absolutely huge. The press release for Games Workshop this week has said, I think the season of reaping is over. Now's the time for the season of war, which is very cool, and it really fits the fluff of the Sylvaneth, where they have to plant Alarielle into different areas of the world to make her be reborn into a different aspect, and she's definitely come ready for a fight at the moment. So she's got 16 wounds with a 3+ save, so that in itself is a real tough nut to crack. In addition, she heals D3 wounds per hero phase. She has a ranged attack, and it's a 30-inch range attack that does D6 damage at all times. So no matter how much you damage her, it's still going to do D6 damage. So that's quite cool. She's got 4 attacks with her Talon of Dwindling. And at the end of the phase, you make a roll against, I think it's against the wounds remaining, to see if you can auto-kill. So that's great against monsters. If you finish one off or do some damage to one, there's a good chance you can kill them outright with that attack. The War Beetle itself has 5 attacks doing 5 damage each. So even when it's took a bit of damage, even when it's on its last legs nearly, it can still be doing 3 damage an attack. But 5 attacks with 5 damage each is just an astounding output. He's also got a charge attack that does D3 mortal wounds to models near a terrain piece. So I think if it ends its charge in a terrain piece, every model near that terrain piece takes damage from basically the earthquake of the terrain piece. So she's got another ability which heals friendly units or brings on extra units like summoning. So you can roll on a chart. It's a D6 roll straight down the chart, and in addition to being able to see your result on the chart, you can also always choose to take a lower choice. So I think number 6 summons a Tree Lord. I think 4 is 2d6 Dryads, and 5 I think is the Spite Revenants, or it might be the Hunters. But 1 to 3 just heals friendly units. So instead you can just choose to keep healing if you prefer. She's got 3 spells. Metamorphosis can kill units and then turn them into wildwoods, which is pretty cool. And once per battle, she's got a command ability that lets all Sylvaneth reroll failed wounds, which is just an epic ability, especially when you've some of the, as we'll go into in a bit, some of the Warscrolls, they can do some real damage, and being able to reroll failed wounds is very cool. So how many points are you paying for Alarielle? So 620 points in matched play. Just for comparison, Nagash is 900, Gordrak is 700, the Lord Celestin on Stardrake is 600, and Archaon is also 700. So she's up there with the big boys. She's certainly going to be mixing in with them, and she can hold her own in a fight as well. I think she can go toe to toe with any of these monsters and have a decent chance of not only taking them down, but coming out fairly unscathed after she's healed herself during the game. I think it's 2 rend as well on them 5 damage beetle attacks. So with this new General's Handbook rules of only 1 Mystic Shield attempt per turn, it's not like you can have a lot of units that are going to be protected. So I think the chances of your big characters being really resilient, you can't stack your Mystic Shield, being really resilient to Alarielle's attacks are going to be slim. So I think she can really get in there and put the hurt on these other characters. So the next one I want to talk about is Draco Hammer. Draco's a new monster kit. She's very cool looking. It's almost like the the Wood Elves have found a Dreadnought and Draco's inside it. She's kind of wearing a tree as armour. It's very cool. She's got 10 wounds, a 3+ save, and 2 missile attacks to choose from. So she's got the Colony of Flitter Furies, which is a cloud effect that starts at 18 inches and hits every enemy unit. You roll 10 dice for each unit and causes a mortal wound on a 6. So just to be clear, that's every unit in 18 inches, 10 dice and a mortal wound on a 6. So bearing in mind Sylvaneth, we'll come to in a bit about their Allegiance abilities, teleporting out the forest and then hitting units, mortal wounds, it's an amazing ability. And next up we've got the Swarm of Squirmlings, which hits a single unit but rolls against each model in the unit. Each model in range. So you pick a unit, each model in range causes a mortal wound on a sliding damage chart. So that starts at 10 inches and also on a 3+. So if she gets in range of a big unit, all in range, on a 3+, that's 2/3 of the unit are just going to die outright. She also has an ability where she can change aspect, almost like the 5th edition Dryads, and there's a chance you're going to get a reroll on that as well, so reroll 1s. She's got 2 damage to attacks and also 2d6 basic 4+ attacks. And aspects, depending on which one she chooses or it's rolling on a chart, can give her some extra buffs in combat. She's a wizard as well. Her own spell does a Banshee Scream, which actually does 2d6 + 2 against the bravery for all units in 10 inches. So let's just go over that again. She's got an aura that does an 18-inch, hits everyone, mortal wounds on a 6, roll 10 dice. And also a bravery bomb, 2d6 + 2 versus bravery, 10 inches. So she can go into the middle of an army and really put some damage, kill a lot of models. And if she dies the following turn, it's not the end of the world because she can be a massive amount of shock. I also think keeping her in reserve can have a huge impact on the battle because people will be very aware of what she can do, where she is on the table, and either not really want to go near her and take the wrath of Draco, or actually go straight for her, make a beeline there, and do the best to bring her down as quickly as possible. Now she comes in at 280 points in match play, and I'm smiling while I say this if you're watching on YouTube. That's a bargain, an absolute bargain, and I think this is one of the biggest models in the release that will really put a big impact on the meta game. When we're going to be playing now with battle line units. I think Draco being on the table and being able to shred infantry and shred low bravery units as well as she can, I think she's going to be giving you a real kick. Okay, so next up we've got the Tree Lords. We've still got 3. We've got Tree Lord, the basic one, Tree Lord Ancient, and also the Spirit of Durthu. Now, Durthu's gone, he's dead, died in the old world, but his spirit lives on, and he's kind of a defender for the Ever-Chosen, I've said here in my show notes, which it would be nice if he was, wouldn't it? He's actually, so he's still got the Tree Lord rules, pretty much similar to the last time. He's got a ranged attack called Verdant Blast. It's 15 inches with a 4+ and 3+ damage, -1 rend. Sorry, I'm getting all confused here. A 4+ to hit, 3+ to wound, -1 rend, and D3 damage. It starts with 6 attacks, and you can actually filter his soul into the attack to give more. So you can have an extra 2, but you'll take D3 damage. So that's quite a nice mechanic, I think, where you can take wounds to do extra damage on your ranged shots, or extra shots with your ranged attack. Champions of the Ever-Chosen also gives bravery to friendly models, and they've got a Solemn Guardian ability which can deflect wounds from nearby heroes onto the Spirits of Durthu. So Alarielle can be fighting, and Spirits of Durthu are nearby, and basically this gives Alarielle a 4+ ward, so that's a very cool ability. The Tree Lord Ancient is the same as before, except he gets the hero keyword and also a command ability that gives a reroll 1s on armor saves to all Sylvaneth within 10 inches. The Tree Lord's the same, the Branch Wraith is the same as well, both the same as in Grand Alliance order. Another new model, we've got the Branch Witch, very similar to the Branch Wraith, and it's a hero wizard. and they've got an Unleash Spite spell. Cast on a 5+ and hits all units within 9, and you roll a number equal to the casting value, a number of dice, and then a mortal wound on a 6. So another kind of chucker in the middle of a mix. Cast a spell which hits everyone nearby and chance to give mortal wounds, which I quite like that, especially if you can get a few of them in the army. I think Sylvaneth might be able to put out some real mortal wound damage, I think, in this new faction. Okay, so next up, 2 more new units. We've got the Spite and Tree Revenants. This is 1 new kit, which makes these 2 unit options, and they are really fantastic looking. As you can see on the front of the book, it's kind of a half Dryad, half Elf, Spirit Demon type thing. You've got guys with scythes, you've got guys that just fly with the claws. They've got fairly standard-ish infantry type stat lines. Tree Revenants have a standard stat line, a champion does a double damage, and they have -1 rend, which is nice. They've got 2 different abilities. One of them is when they walk the spirit path, and we'll come to that later, what it is, basically teleporting through the trees. You can re-roll a single dice per phase as well, so they kind of see the future, so they can choose to re-roll 1 dice per phase. I think it's armor saves, hit and wound rolls, things like that. And the Revenants cause nearby terrain to be haunted, which is nice. This forces opponents to roll an extra dice for battle shocks and discard the highest, or sorry, use the highest, which is great against demons, for example, because they can't get that reality blinks on a 1. They also give -1 bravery to nearby enemy units, and again, as I've said, Draco's got a bravery damage attack, so that's a nice combination there, where they can give -1 bravery, and Draco can then damage them, and it's an extra 1 damage basically. Okay, so next up we've got the Kurnoth Hunters. These are ogre-sized infantry, 5 wounds each, movement 5, and a 4+ save. They've got abilities like the old style 5th edition Dryads again. They can choose to Sprout Tanglethorn and re-roll armor saves, but can't move that turn. So in the hero phase, they'll choose to like armor up, don't get to move. I think they still get to pile in 1 inch, but basically they're on the defensive mode, which is nice. They've got an ability where they extend the range of all command abilities on the table. So basically, if you're within, I think it's 9 inches of a Kurnoth Hunter, you count as being within command ability range of your general. So that's quite cool. You can have your general off on 1 flank, and you can have your command ability unit. Your units getting the command ability on the other flank through the, I think it's called Heralds of the Ever Queen, something like that. They also have a mortal wound trample attack, and they're armed with either bows, great weapons, or scythes. Now the bows are quite cool. They shoot twice, and they've got a 30-inch range, and they've got rend 1, do D3 damage. So a unit of 3 of these, shooting 6 times, it's not a bad shooting output. Dryads are the same as in the previous book, and that is all the Warscrolls, other than 1 actually. So we've got the Sylvaneth Wildwood. It's had a bit of an update. Instead now of having a single base of trees, you have 3 bases together, which makes up your Wildwood. And as we'll come to in a second, you get to deploy 1 of these at the start of the game. So Sylvaneth are really going to bring the woods. So, as we talked about last episode in the General's Handbook, we've got something now called Allegiance abilities. And if you're Allegiant to your alliance, you can gain bonuses. So, Sylvaneth, for example, all have the keyword Order, so they're all in the Order faction. They also, if you prefer to build them as just keyword Sylvaneth, so everything in this battle tome has the Sylvaneth keyword, so if you stick to everything in the battle tome, you can also use the faction specific allegiance abilities, and that would give you 3 different abilities in the case of the Sylvaneth. Now the first one is the Wildwood Groves. After all terrain and scenery have been set up, but before the battle starts, you can actually place a Sylvaneth Wildwood, and that is 3 citadel woods together anywhere on the battlefield, more than 1 inches from any other piece of terrain. Now, putting that down, I saw someone do it last week at Games Workshop, putting that down on the table, 3 of them in a long line, takes up so much of the battlefield, which makes Allegiance ability number 3 very cool. But ability number 2 is actually Forest Spirits. So, sorry, it's number 2 and number 3 become very cool. So, Forest Spirits means instead of setting up on the table, you can set up in the hidden enclaves. Any of your movement phases, you can transport the unit or battalion to the battlefield, and when you do, set it up within 3 of a Sylvaneth Wildwood. So if you just put this massive wood onto the table, you can then teleport your units into it, just coming out the sky like the Stormcast do. As long as you're more than 9 from the enemy, and then this is their move for the movement phase. And the third ability lets a Sylvaneth unit that starts its turn within 3 inches of a wildwood. At the start of their movement phase, they can attempt to traverse the spirit paths. Instead of moving normally, you remove them from the battlefield and set them up anywhere else on the battlefield within 3 inches of a wildwood. It can even be the same wildwood. And then you roll on a chart. You're still going to be 9 inches away from the enemy, but you can still roll this chart. On a 1, you can do nothing else that turn. On a 2 to 5, you've got no movement, but you can still shoot and you can still charge. However, on a 6, you can still move again in that phase and then charge as normal. So that is very cool. Tree Lords can never get tangled, and there's a couple of units with abilities that can have an influence on your result on this table. So it's just to be clear, let's go through them again. Wildwood Groves gives you a forest. Forest Spirits lets you appear out of the forest and navigate the realm routes, lets you disappear back into it. So you can jump out in ambush, smash something up with your Draco and your Branch Witch doing template effects and area effects, and then you can disappear back into the realm routes on your next turn. And I think these 3 abilities together are going to have such an impact on the game. It's going to be crazy to see Sylvaneth units bouncing around everywhere. I think people will stop bringing forests to tournaments. Saying that, it's Sylvaneth Wildwoods to tournaments, I suppose. So you can still bring your wood. It wouldn't be a wildwood. There are ways to get the woods, extra woods on the table. Alariel's got an ability. I think there's a couple of others in there as well. So it's going to be crazy to see tables absolutely overgrown with woods and the Sylvaneth just coming out from everywhere. I'm really looking forward to seeing how that pans out. Also, the fact that you can deploy your Sylvaneth Wildwood on one side of the table, forcing your opponent to go all in the other corner, and then you can just deploy your army as normal opposite them if you want. You're not tied to actually having to go into the hidden enclaves until you're deploying units there and saying you are. So you could go Dryads in the enclaves, a couple of Branch Witches, and just see what your opponent's going to do before you commit to anything. So it's very cool, some nice tactical options. Additionally, we've got command traits, a Deepwood spell lore, and artifacts of the glades as well. So command traits lets a hero in your army roll on your chart. You can be a realm walker, which gives you +2 to navigate the realm routes. A gnarled warrior, which ignores -1 rend. The gift of Gyron, which heals wounds each hero phase. Lord of Spites, reroll 1s to hit in each phase. A warsinger gives +1 to charge to all units within 10 inches, and Wisdom of the Ancients is +1 bravery within 10 inches. And the Deepwood spell lore is very cool. So now we've got a whole selection of spells like we used to in the old editions. All wizards know an additional spell from the Deepwood spell lore, and so basically Alariel now I think will be able to cast 3 spells, and she'll know Mystic Shield. She'll know. Oh no, sorry, she doesn't get it because she's a named character, so I don't think she gets these. So your normal wizards are going to know at least now 4 spells because they get 1 extra anyway. They know the 2 normal ones, and then they can pick or roll on this chart depending on how you want to play it. We've got Throne of Vines. It's a 5+ to cast, but you add D3 to future casting rolls and unbinding rolls until they move, so they're like Root of the Feet. Regrowth heals D3 wounds, and Sylvaneth actually healed D6 wounds, so that's quite a nice one to have if you're running a lot of Tree Lords. And also healing Alariel an extra D6 wounds, pretty tasty. Verdant Blessing is on a 6+, you set up a Wildwood. Again, 3 more forests is a Wildwood. Number 4, the Dweller's Below. It's not as good as it was last time though, I'm afraid. Pick a unit in 10 inches, cause a mortal wound on a 6 to every model in the unit. Oh, the other way around, so roll for each model in the unit, mortal wound on a 6. The Reaping is a 6+, all enemy units in 3 inches suffer D3 mortal wounds. And also Tree Song. On a 7+, move a Sylvaneth Wildwood 2d6 inches and cause d3 mortal wounds to all units within one of it. So some quite nice spells there. Artifacts of the Glades, we've got magical artifacts and arcane treasures. Quick rundown these, we've got Daith's Reaper, 6+ to wound, and 6s to wound have -4 rend. Oaken Armour gives +1 to save. Briar's Sheath is -1 to hit the bearer. Seed of Rebirth is heal d3 wounds, and that's when the last wound is suffered, you heal d3 wounds. The Wraithstone gives -1 bravery in 10 inches, so I think that's maybe the third bravery debuff in this faction so far. And then Glamour Weave ignores mortal wounds on 6+. And then Arcane Treasures, the first one is the Acorn of Ages, which lets you set up a Wildwood once again. A Warsong Stave gives you the Tree Song spell, so you could actually know 5 spells with just a normal wizard. Moonstone of the Hidden Ways says move anywhere on the board 4 inches away from the enemy. But bearing in mind, it's only wizards that are going to get these, and I don't think Alariel gets one. Ramu's Lamentary gives +1 to cast in and +2 on the Deepwood Lore. Hagbane Spite causes d3 wounds to caster instead of unbinding, so it's kind of like the feedback scroll of old. And then Silverwood Circlet adds 6 inches to a spell's range. So, I mean, straight up, you see that Silverwood Circlet you can put into combo with the Reaping, so it's all units within 9 inches now would cause d3 mortal wounds. And also, I think there's another one in there that does something similar. Dwellers Below at 16 inches is quite good. So yeah, there's some really nice combos to be had from them. So, in summary, I suppose, there's 12 Warscrolls, 9 of them are new and improved, 14 Warscroll battalions, I think it's 4 or 5 whole new plastic kits. Synergies across the whole faction are going to be just epic. They're going to do some really cool stuff. I think with the new faction, with the new Allegiance abilities, the new Deepwood spell lore, all that stuff I've just gone through, you only get access to if you're all keyword Sylvaneth. So you've got to really, really want to go out of faction to pass up all those extra abilities. The Wildwoods are going to play a huge part in the battle, so go and pick yourself up some extra Wildwoods, get them on the table, certainly get them painted. I think 5 out of the 11 Sylvaneth units are wizards, so these set off the Roused by Magic rule, which if you cast a spell into a Wildwood, it does stuff, it kills models and things like that and moves around. Sylvaneth players can now just flood the table with Wildwoods, use magic to get them all going wappy, dish out huge amounts of mortal wounds. There's going to be some really cool combos with these mortal wounds going on. There's also a hell of a lot of resilience built into the faction. Just things like Dryads getting a +1 armor save if there's 12 or more models, and then getting Mystic Shield. And now with the new FAQ, all you need to be is touching terrain, so all the Dryads are lurking on the edge of the terrain. Everyone's kind of got the toe in to get, that'll be a +3 save from Mystic Shield, terrain, and just being strength in numbers. So that's just basically there, that's resilient. Then you've got the Tree Lord Ancient's ability as well to reroll ones to armor save. So that's from the lowest of the lowest battle line unit. Now multiply that up, put that on Alariel. I know you don't get your cover because of monsters now, but you can still reroll ones to armor save. If things go bad, you just disappear. Navigate the realm routes, go back into the woods, move out of combat, get yourself out of dodge, heal, build yourself back up, jump back in. It's going to be really hard to pin down these units and finish them off. So if a unit can really pile in, then disappear and go and get an objective on the other side of the board, it's going to be very hard to pin down the Sylvaneth. And I think there's going to be a shift in the meta of it's already happened a bit with Stormcast, but the Sylvaneth, you're really going to have to position yourself quickly to limit the positions that the Sylvaneth can come down into. You're going to have to get into those woods very quick and then take the wrath of the wizards, basically. The wizards are then going to be able to rouse those Wildwoods to damage you, but you're going to have to be in there to stop the Sylvaneth coming out of them within 9 inches. And it's going to be a toss-up. You're going to have to see what works best, figure out what's best for your army and how to play against these units. And at the same time with all this, you've got the 2 huge additions to the game in the form of the special characters. Alariel is just a monstrous hero. She's a monster and a hero, but -2 rend and 5 damage from the beetle attacks is fantastic. She can really dish out an amazing amount of damage. She can annihilate whole units. It's just going to be amazing. It's a huge model, going to look great on the battlefield. Draco as well is just fantastic. I'm really looking forward to seeing just the brutal things that she's going to be able to do. In the fluff and the background in the book, she is dropping the book. In the fluff and the background in the book, she is absolutely amazing. She is really brutal. She's been brutal all the way through the various editions, and you know, things don't change in this one, and the rules reflect it as well. And if you're watching the YouTube video, I'm just flicking through the book now to show you off some of the artwork. And this book is fantastic. Like I said before, I think it's a massive, massive addition to the game. It's one of the best things I've seen from Games Workshop in a while. It's better, in my opinion, than the General's Handbook. I'll put that out there and I'll say it now. And that's coming from someone who thinks the General's Handbook is amazing. So if General's Handbook is 100 out of 100, then I'll put the Sylvaneth in only slightly above, maybe 110 out of 100. But those two in combo, the General's Handbook and the Sylvaneth, is just... I'm very excited for what's going to be coming over the next 6 months in the Age of Sigmar, because it's an exciting time to be gaming in. So thanks very much for listening and watching. If you've got any comments about this episode, you can leave them on the blog post on the Bad Dice website. That's baddice.co.uk. Leave a comment on the YouTube page as well if you want to. Don't forget to subscribe. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook and Snapchat at the moment as well. Doing some cool stuff on there. And I look forward to seeing you all on the next episode. Thanks very much, and I'll see you next time.